Today's episode is sponsored by Dice Roll UK. You can never have enough dice. Whether you're looking for shiny click-clacks that make your inner goblin smile, or metallic math rocks that would make a dwarf proud, Dice Roll UK has just what you're looking for. From resin and acrylic to metal and gemstone sets, they are sure to have something you'll absolutely love. Keeping those polyhedral pretties in tip-top shape is important too, so be sure to check out their dice bags and trays. They even have rolling towers and other accessories to complete your tabletop. Shopping small comes with all sorts of benefits. Carl and crew lovingly pack your goodies and ship them promptly, so you can roll your crits and take down your enemies quicker than you can say icosahedron. That's a fancy word for that 20-sided shape. Cruise on over to diceroll.uk and feast your eyes upon the dragon's hoard of dice they have to offer. And if you use the code WICKED, you'll even get a discount. That's WICKED. And now, let's roll.
This is a Wicked Cool Kids production.
Hej och välkommen till Wicked Cool Kids podcast.
Welcome to the Wicked Cool Kids podcast.
Yeah, welcome everyone. It's been a while. It has
Well, what?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we're starting now. It's been a while. We took a little hiatus. Just took some time to refocus and get some energy back. And it's been the summer holidays, which for those of us with kids didn't feel like a holiday, and for those of us without kids,
Felt like wedding planning.
probably was irrelevant because summer holidays aren't a thing for people without kids. And for others of us, there was a wedding to plan. And it was great. It was
amazing.
It is above average, maybe.
No. It's been the most stress I've had in a while, and it wasn't even my
It wasn't
wedding.
even your wedding.
Yeah, I was so stressed.
What on earth
True
should you
story.
be stressed about?
He was
Stressed
so
at making sure
stressed.
everything ran smoothly for him because I wanted it to be the best day it could possibly be.
Perfect.
And then I had to do a speech and stand up in front of everybody there. I was sweating buckets because I'm not used to that sort of heat.
You were dripping
was-
sweat on me because I had the privilege of being next to you while you poured down.
I know. It was like I was like a rain cloud.
Your beard looked bossed out, didn't it, mate? You had a
It did.
professional barber come
You're
in and sort
welcome.
the beard out.
Yeah. Flew one in from America just to sort me out.
Flew one in from America to Sweden.
I was
Just to
wiping
trim
your
your beard.
beard stubble off of me for way longer than I should have been.
You're welcome. My little parting gift. It's my own version of confetti.
I think I've still got it all over my porch. Yeah. I'm going to scoop it all up and clone you, mate. I've got a backup.
Lord,
A
have
backup just in
mercy.
case.
Yeah.
There can never be two of me in the world. That
We've
would-
already
yeah.
gone through this scenario, haven't we, mate?
So many times.
What would you do
that
if there
it
was
would-
two and made you the exact same? all
We're
the
not
same
gonna start
We're
this.
not. Okay.
No.
It was amazing though. It was I don't know, because we did so much ourselves. It was very intimate. I felt like very much a part of the wedding. Whereas you go to some weddings and it's like, oh, can you just like do such and such a thing? And it's not. It's like formal. But this was very laid back, and it was good. It was nice to be as involved, and everyone chipped in to do something.
The help
I
from
really enjoyed.
from you guys was amazing, but we also wanted it to be more informal. Like we only invited the people that we were closest to us and that we wanted there, so we could like split our attention equally amongst the people that were there and have those interests and stuff. And it also helped that you guys were there for the week or a couple of days either side of it as well, which was a solid. Seeing you guys outside of the wedding as well was fantastic, and we did get to play a couple of games of D&D.
That was so many people asked what the highlight of my trip was, and I had to be a complete geek and say playing D&D in person with these people that I've been playing D&D with for a long time at this point, right? Because so infrequently do I get to play D&D with. Ooh, is that the first time I've ever played D&D with only adults in person? It might have been.
By adults, you mean like in terms of age, they're older than 18. But I think mentally, maybe some of us not adults.
I mean,
yeah,
fair,
we're
but...
nowhere near there.
But yeah, rolling dice in real life and watching somebody else suffer.
I'm really sorry for ruining all of your dice. I couldn't help it.
They probably came pre-cursed. It's fine.
No, I specifically bought the uncursed ones.
I didn't let him use those ones. I didn't let him touch those ones. I tried to rub those ones on the other one, but it didn't.
Yeah, someone put a bunch of dice in front of me, and I rolled d20s from 3 different sets. And out of those 3 dice rolls, 2 of them were nat ones, and one of them I think was a 2 or a 3. It was also a low number.
It was bad.
So I didn't touch those dice again because they weren't mine.
I mean, and I had pre-gamed those dice. I'd been sitting here rolling them, making sure that those were like the good set of dice that I was going to bring. Sets too, because I narrowed it down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
They did not.
You have to try the old salted water bath technique where you drop it in and see if it floats up to the same number each time. See if it's weighted, and then you can just find yourself a weighted one towards 20, I guess.
I did think about that to fix Kristen's curse, was just buy her a weighted D20, dice, so yeah, so that she would never.
I'd still find a way to roll poorly on it.
I was going to say you'd probably do something, and it would end up just being weighted to 1.
You know what?
They flipped the dice the wrong way around. Yeah, that one that wasn't passed on the quality check.
You can't have both. You can't have good role play and good rolls.
No,
that's it.
But that's part of what makes the story interesting as well, is seeing how you get them shit rolls and then you adapt from that and work from it. It definitely makes it interesting, because it'd be boring if you succeeded at everything all the time. Not that I would know about that.
I've even created characters specifically for that, right? I've talked about Atuza before. She's well-spoken. She's nice enough, but like I intentionally made it so her rolls would work against her. So even if I rolled well, I still have negative modifiers on those charisma rolls. So anything intimidating or persuading or anything, she's just going to ultimately roll poorly at, because I've set it up that way. So mechanically things still work against her because that's the story I've created around her. Anyway. Yeah.
I really enjoyed seeing Jason absolutely drunk. I mean, I think that was the highlight for me, where you just were able to give control to everybody else and just sit back, not knowing what was going to happen, what was coming next or anything, and you just could sit back and let everybody else do it all and just unwind. It was really nice to see you just like that, not having to worry about anything.
Yeah, I don't usually like sitting back and not having some control over any scenario.
No, we noticed by how often you made us breakfast and messaged us saying it's ready whenever you want to come over, even on the day after your wedding.
Yeah, it was really nice to see that. I was happy with that. It was great.
I'm a old feeder grandma at heart. It's my spirit animal. So
yeah, but then when you pair it with another feeder old grandma, that was hard to sit down and just let happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was me hovering literally behind you both, wanting to also join in, but too many cooks, and stressing out about the fact that there were 2 of you then looking after us all night. One of the most stressful trips of my life. I'm never coming back again.
Wow.
I'll be back soon. Don't you worry.
That's not true. I've got to revisit the Feywild. It was wonderful.
It was awesome.
I didn't get to see it.
I told you before, the Feywild that we all saw together was more Feywildy than the Feywild that I got to see with just Jason.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The Feywild that I saw with Jason had other humans in it, which is just weird.
Ew.
There was one dog.
Broke
2
the
dogs?
illusion.
It's 2 dogs there. So.
There were at least 2 dogs as well, yeah. And there was a dirt track that we were following, and
yeah, it wasn't
too
off-road.
humanized.
Yeah, it wasn't off-road. Like, well, it is nice.
No, for context, we a couple of us went for a walk, and it was very lovely. But one of the days we went foraging, and it was there's places similar to that in a way around where I live. Like there's a woodland area that I can go to, and it's once you go into the woodlands, it feels isolated and it's sort of feels a bit mystic. But I live in a populated area, so even there, you walk around. There's paths leading up to it, and then inside it, there's sort of signs that other people have been there, and you're likely to come across other people. And because people visit it, there'll be like the flora and fauna don't feel totally natural, whereas where we went foraging when we went to Sweden felt completely untouched. And I know it's not, because there was a little like hunter's nest on the roadside and so on, so it's obviously not totally untouched, but it definitely felt that way, and there was something very magical about that.
There's only 4 weeks out of the year they use those huts, though. So out of 52, it was only used 4 times, and then you got other foragers, obviously, in the area that will occasionally go down. But for the most part, you can go to really remote locations up where we are, which look like they've not been touched by. Like, it's so overgrown that you can't even get in there yourself because it's just a mess. But it was... How did you find picking the mushrooms and stuff? Have you got any inspiration for how to roleplay those scenarios in your D&D games now, or in any kind of roleplay scenario of having that experience? Has it changed how you might approach either running a kind of a forest game or a travel during D&D sessions?
So, interestingly, I've been on like hikes and whatever. I'm not a stranger to moving through uneven terrain and so on, but even so, we were having to be so cautious and like really take our time and watch our footing, and then it was very easy to lose track of each other, that we split off into 2 groups and almost instantly lost each other. And it definitely hits home now that you ask. It definitely hits home that if we ever find ourselves in that kind of environment, the easy thing to do as a player is just move your character, their full movement if you're doing it in sort of turn order, or just steam on ahead if you're not, and not really consider just how careful you would have to be, and that if you were just steaming on ahead, how much you would miss. I think I would like to think that if we found ourselves in that kind of terrain in a game, if we were to move slowly, that the GM would perhaps have some ideas of what we might come across, because we haven't just barreled on ahead and steamrolled it past.
Yeah, especially when you're looking for like mushrooms or something like that. Like, if you can just blitz through it and just ignore all of the like signs of like edible mushrooms in the area, but you took it slow, you obviously got more chance to spot things like that.
Yeah. That natural perception check as well, like when we first found the mushrooms that we were actually looking for, there was quite a lot of discussion and even a phone call to make sure it really was the right ones that we were looking for. Even though, most of us, I think, had all seen them before and we knew what we were looking for, but we still had that question mark of, is this the right thing? And that, again, hits home that, like, oh, but I rolled a 16 on my perception check. Like, yeah, you know it's a mushroom. That doesn't mean that you remember that it's the exact one that you wanted to look for. And
well, right, and in instances like that, right, they were chanterelles, and there are false chanterelles, and there are jack-o'-lanterns. There are other mushrooms that look very similar to that mushroom. So trying to discern whether or not it's the right sure, you found a mushroom. Yep, it looks exactly the way you expected it to look, but is it the right one still? Because you have to have these nuanced little pieces of information in order to determine whether it is the right one or the wrong one. And I don't know, maybe in D&D, you don't have something like FaceTime. Hey, Jason, look at this one. Are these the right gills? No, it's the right color. Is this the right thing?
Describe it with like a 25-word message or something like that.
Yeah, sending, right? So the other thing that I was thinking of is in a situation like that, right? So losing people, it's fine. So we have somebody who may shock some people to realize that I'm loud, and I used my very expensive college training and made some echoey noises to let people know where we were. Fine, we weren't very far apart. But in real life, that means that I'm negating stealth, right? Yeah. If there are potential enemies around. But I thought that in forest kind of situations, right, when you're on a map and you're looking down, you're still seeing all the players and you understand that you're in a forest, but in real life, you have all of those trees to look for. So I was thinking maybe like a fog of war, a heavy fog of war. So, yep, I mean, I have dark vision. You still can't see. It's not about you being able to see a distance. It's because there's so many things, right, occluding your vision that you're not able to actually see. So if you're hiding, right, this player from this player from this player from this player because they've separated and now they're too far gone and you can't see them anymore, you're going to have to roll a perception check to see if you can hear their footfall, if you can hear a branch break because they stepped on it. And then that brings in a whole other element of not only are you supposed to be going where you're going or finding what you're finding, but now, oops, somebody bent down to tie their shoelaces and everybody else kept going. And now we don't know where they are and they don't know where we are. And we have to figure out, do we sacrifice being stealthy or whatever to go back and be able to find this person?
Yeah, and also ambushes. Like, if you can't see your friends, then you're definitely not going to see people who are trying to hide in that kind of foliage as well.
I'd also take that one step further as well, and say like the fog of war concept. We didn't go that far, but it was still very easy, and we were although we were looking for mushrooms, which diverted our attention, which is a whole other thing. When we turned around to come back on ourselves, it's not like we were like, oh, we passed that random log, but like we were a little bit turned around. We knew where the road was, so we had a direction we could travel in to get back to where we first set off, but we weren't going to come out exactly where we got into the forest. We would come out random and then have to walk down. And so that even that fog of war, like not being able to see your friends, there's also that occlusion of you've got a vague idea of where you've been, but you're not going to remember exactly the path that you took. So it's almost like that fog of war should be following you as well and be re-occluded.
Your DM could be a complete dick and just be spinning the map around you.
Spin the map, yeah. Just reset.
I know somebody who would do something like that. Yeah. Yep. Yep. No, it's interesting. I mean, and you can only do so much when you're dealing with maps and stuff like that in computer and visuals, but it really kind of brings to a very apparent forefront that it's not as safe as you think it is. And right, so we still even had the fallback of, I've got my phone and I can pull up maps on my phone and find where the road is and find what direction I need to go to. So if I get lost, I can make my way to the road and then we'll be able to figure it out. In D&D, unless you have some weird like pumpkin spice witch modern day thing where she brings out cell phones, you don't have cell phones like that to be able to back up on.
You have to be good at your map reading, and that's if you can get a map of the area that you're traversing. But me and Evelina have a little call and reply when we're out foraging, because we often do get like just separate, because she goes off one way, and we try and cover as much ground so we can pick as much stuff as possible. I can whistle. Evelina can't whistle. So I whistle, and she knows that, oh, okay, I know he's in a location over this way. She just goes, caca, like a bird. Like she says the words.
We were cacaing.
Yeah. Because she cannot whistle loud, and it's I think it's dead cute that she, even, like, just for the simple foraging thing, we still need that call and response so we can find each other, and we go to these forages all the time. And it's different from knowing the terrain, but knowing where your people are within that terrain as well. It introduces other problems, but yeah, it's a good time anyway. I was making you guys a roast dinner while you guys were foraging, which was a challenge in itself, having to cook for so many people. There was 8 of us in total and a baby.
Yep.
Yeah, and like constantly worried.
And
about,
then 2 extras on that day, right? Yeah,
4 extras.
2 extras.
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah. I don't think Johnny and Jonah had anyone, but Gustav and little Jonah definitely did. And that's like, it comes down to food management and resources as well, of how much food it takes to feed a group of people like that, and using real life situations to inform role play scenarios. I kind of find that quite a lot. Oh yeah, it's
It would be such a bad idea for real life situations of feeding people to inform my roleplay, because I think I'm a like some other people in the room. I'm an overfeeder.
Yeah.
And if I'm
Wasting
so
resources.
for example, if I was to do a roast dinner, right? I know a roast dinner that I make every damn week, so it's not like it's a surprise to me. I know what I'm going to make for the kids and for myself, and for Claire, and we'll I basically pick one veg that I know each person's going to choose that they want, right? So that everyone's got something that they want, but then I'll think, well, I want everyone to have the choice of variety. So let's say one person might only want a carrot, so they're going to need a whole carrot. But then everyone might only want a carrot, so everyone gets a carrot. So that's 4 carrots. And then I do the same with the peas, same with sweet corn, same with broccoli.
Yeah.
You end up with 4 times more food than you need because you've given everyone the
option
to have only
the-
one thing,
Yeah.
which is way too much food. And then it serves as leftovers for the rest of the week. But yeah, I do that in almost every feeding I do.
Yeah.
My problem is I don't like to leave any food, so I just try my hardest to clear the
Gluttonize
plate
it, yeah.
because
Evelyn
Yeah.
is the same. Is anything left, she's like gobbling it up big time.
Mm-hmm.
You guys just need to get better at knowing your audience and picking appropriate sizes and just not ever having to have leftovers. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that hard to figure
If only
out.
we
I
had
don't
like
know what
4
that is.
vacuums to go and hoover everything up after we finish cooking.
Speaking of
No.
like knowing sizes and everything and all that, you were sent
Keep it
to
PG,
get.
like, come on.
It's going to be PG. You were sent to get some snacks for
I don't want to
fika.
talk about it.
Well, we're talking about.
I
you
did my
sent-
job, and I did my job very well.
You
And
did
I'm
your
gonna
job
get
extremely
sensitive.
well.
No, I'm gonna get sensitive about it. I forewarned everybody. I even
know,
told Jason the story. Okay, we'll just finish because like you started, but you're not allowed to talk anymore. So in Jason and Evelina's wedding, they had this service called fika in between the ceremony and the reception while they were going to have their pictures taken. So it's kind of like a coffee companionship hour, but it was a little more than an hour. And so like 35 people. Kristen, go to the store. Can you go to the store and pick up some snacks for 35 people? Okay. I can go by myself. Thank goodness Chet decided to come with me. So I have some backup. But Jason was even told, hey, yesterday when we went to the store, Lee came back on us and looked at our cart and said, what the hell, who are you buying food for? And Chet said, this is an Italian-American mother of 4 that is shopping. She's buying food for everybody to make sure that nobody goes hungry, right? So Jason was already given that little piece and still sent me to the store to go and buy food for fika, and apparently was expecting like 35 cookies only to be brought back. And I bought more than 35.
Half the
He
shop,
also
yeah.
said, he also said, hey, if there are leftovers, don't worry about it because my dad will eat them. He'll be more than happy to eat all of them. So I'm like, okay, I feed Jason's daddy too. It's fine. And so there were not, thank God I went, because if Jason had gone, there'd have been 2 boxes of cookies and everybody had been sitting there twiddling thumbs and maybe cannibalizing people
I
at
don't
your
know.
wedding. How terrible would that have
I
been?
will say for sure, if the requested amount was all that had been bought, they would have run out,
Yeah.
which is fine, but they would have. And I'm exceptionally grateful that I only ran out of. I took a packet of the open biscuits, the like teeny little shortbready style ones, with me as snacks on the plane. Turns out I took more than I expected, and I only finished eating them today. So I was very grateful to have little
So
coffee
you're
biscuits.
welcome.
For, a week and a half. It was great.
Evelina's had baby shower and she's taken a whole still unopened box of cookies and
Yeah.
to the,
Yeah,
to the
you're
baby
welcome,
shower.
Jason.
Look
You're
at
welcome.
so I've fed a pregnant lady and her friends now too.
Yeah.
I am feeling very good about my decision making. So also
I told you not
Let's
to worry
talk
about
about,
it when it happened. I was like, it's not what I expected, but
I was very
They'll
upset
get
about
used
it.
in some way.
I was
great.
very upset about it. I had to go and have a little cry because I felt like I let people down because I bought too much food.
You could never let us down. Like.
You essentially did exactly what I was just describing, that right? Because part of the reason there was so much was because you bought variety. You
Yeah.
bought like a couple of boxes.
I had to take
of
people's
6
gluten
different
and
things,
lactose
and there was
allergies.
gluten-free and lactose-free. Like you had lots of variety, and probably the quantity of just 2 options would have been enough, but then there wouldn't have been a variety and you wouldn't have covered gluten-free. So you got lots of different things. And that was awesome because everybody that we saw was trying everything,
Everything. Yeah.
and enjoying it.
Yeah.
So,
There's no disappointment from me at all. It was just surprise. I was like,
But it
That's
shouldn't
a
have
lot
been
of
surprised
cookies.
because you were warned. You were warned
I
beforehand.
was warned and still surprised. That's how much cookies we're talking about. But it's
Well,
insane.
you are welcome. I had to Google in the middle of the store. I'm like, thank goodness I bought that data to take with me in the store. What is served at Fika? Apparently, cinnamon rolls was like number one. I had to make sure I had
can't
cinnamon
nobody
roll
that.
options. That was after I had already had stuff in the cart, and I wasn't gonna go put stuff back.
Yeah, who does that? It's in the cart. It's basically paid for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's already gone at that point.
Anyway, speaking of buying things, I did something. Was it last night or this morning? And I put in a bargain bin spell, right? So it was a spell that somebody had changed one letter of the spell and then made an entirely different spell, right? And somebody took color spray and turned it into colon spray.
Oh my god.
And then gave a description of the spell, and it was great. And it reminded me of when the other day, I don't even remember, was it at the one shot? He did pass gas without tray,
Yeah.
and we all dissolved into a fit of giggles. But I thought that was a really funny concept, and I've seen it before, but never really like put the whole, okay, well, I can say colon spray and then that's it, and everybody can leave that up to their imagination. But this person had actually done a full spell description, material components, cost, like action, bonus action, whatever. And I thought that was a really fun thing to do. And I was thinking that maybe we could come up with like a handful of them and then just put them in like NPCs' hands. Or you could even turn them into scrolls or potions or whatever. And like,
unique
you don't
spells.
really know what you're going to get. This is supposed to be
Oh,
color spray. It looks like color spray.
Wish version.
But it's on the
Yeah.
spells.
Yep. But it's on the
Timu
discount
spells.
rack. And so you kind of think you know what you're getting, but then in the moment it doesn't necessarily have to do anything like, oh, it's now like instead of wish, it's death wish and you take it and you die. But it's something that brings comic relief, and you can choose to use it or not, but maybe it's something that when you're looting a body, you took off of somebody else. I thought that was a really fun thing to potentially add into anybody's storyline, right? For a little bit of
I think we should
spontaneity and comic relief.
If you can't come up with one now, which I'm just looking through a spell list, and I think alter self could be alter shelf, and it's just specifically for altering shelf. But maybe we can all go away, and next podcast we can come back and tell each other our made up spell and what it
A
does.
bargain bin spell.
It very much feels like the My Hero Academia, the people who have powers but don't become superheroes because their powers are
Pretty useless.
Yeah.
It feels
They're just-
very much like that. I immediately came to mind produce flame. For me would be produce flake. It's just dandruff. You're just making dandruff people.
I thought you were going to be like, fame.
Instead of animal
You have a
messenger, just
spotlight
animal
come down on you.
passenger, and it's just an animal that rides on your head. It's like a chicken hat
Just
or
sat
something.
with you.
Shape water could easily be shape wafer. You can only shape biscuit wafers.
It'd be great because there'd be like specific spells that have been altered for like a bakery. Do you know what I mean? And they come up with these really
Yeah.
mad, like
Thivara did that
yeah,
while
for
she
the
was in her
frog bread,
spring
innit?
season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be interesting. So I think we could go away, come back next pod with 4 unique spells. You have to it has to be a change on an existing spell, should we say? It
Yep.
has
Yep.
to have a profession in mind to do it, like a story behind why the spell is created. So like the baker doing like shape waffle or shape wafer.
Shape waffle.
That's funnier than it should be, and I don't know why.
Yeah, and then like
So-
what it
so-
does, how long it lasts for, any other bits that are usually
Yeah,
used
yeah,
in the
yeah.
spell
Can you
description.
go down the rabbit holes though? Like once someone's actually got shape waffle, can you then
Alter
start
it.
modifying that one as well?
I think
Like
so.
share waffle.
Share waffle.
Share
And it
waffle.
duplicates the waffle. Or it splits
Yeah.
it exactly 50-50. Like via the spell. So there's no arguments. Like you got 2 kids that are like, he's got more than me. You're like, I'm gonna split waffle. And
But it only ever does it in really obscure shapes. Never right down the middle.
Yeah,
It, like
yeah.
cuts it in a circle.
Exactly.
It's perfectly exactly the same amount of matter. It's just,
Yeah.
you know.
That's a mess. I love it. So the other thing that I was actually thinking, and I'd written this down when, because I like to talk about flavoring spells, is sometimes flavoring spells according to your race, right? So Miranda was a Yuan Ti, and so poison spray came out of these little like pockets in her mouth, so she'd kind of unhinge her jaw a little bit, and Zachariah did the same thing, right? And then Thivara, who was an Eladrin, seasonal elf. That's what I should call it because I hate figuring out which way I'm supposed to pronounce it. Anyway, her spells would look different depending on the season that she was in, which I kind of loved. Right, so her mage hand, if she was in the autumn season, would look like these brown fallen leaves. It would come out. Versus in spring, it would look more viney with flowers coming out of it. So I think that you could even flavor and shape those spells with not necessarily a profession, but you could do it with a race in mind too.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that.
Anyway,
Speaking of race, I had an epiphany this morning, literally today. It made me feel very bad at the time and made me question all the whys and whats.
Joe just got into eugenics. Good.
So we many of us do voices for roleplay. I have been through a great many, from West Country to French to South African to what, like there's not many I haven't touched. And then this morning one of my kids was doing fundamentally like a Southern Indian accent, which he was doing because they'd seen something on the TV and they were essentially mimicking. And for one reason or another, it made me very uncomfortable. And then made me start thinking, how would I feel if I chose to do that accent in roleplay, and realised it would make me very uncomfortable to do it in roleplay as well, which is probably swathed in
Yeah, I feel like
thousands of years of British colonialism
I
and stuff like that.
think it's the
But
context and the accent that is used and the background of it. And we know that within the UK, people can be very derogatory towards Indian people and the accent in general, and use it in the accent in a derogatory way. Whereas if you were to do an Australian accent, it's usually a little bit more comical and light-hearted, because they've not been, absolutely destroyed by the British Empire and are not.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking though. Like my latest, so the two characters that I think of that I do the most sort of obnoxious accents with are Brett at the moment, who's Australian, which is only obnoxious because I'm terrible at the Australian accent. And he is very, I want to say, stereotypical, and fits lots. He just fits lots of stereotypes. And the other one is from Dragon's Vice via Peak. I decided to make Falcon, who's the kind of wilderness hunter person. I gave him a South African accent, or whatever I can approximate as a South African accent. And both of them are, like as you put it, kind of comical. Like it's poking fun at the characters, not necessarily poking fun at the nations, but also using some of the stereotypes that I'm aware of those nations to help build out the character, that will help people recognize the terrible accent that I'm doing. And again, if I was to do that with an Indian accent, I feel, even if it was in exactly the same way with exactly the same thought behind it and the same reasons, it would feel weird, and that makes me sad and uncomfortable, honestly. Like,
yeah, I get where you're coming from. It's same with the Irish accent. I tend to stay away from doing Irish accents because it's always the high pitch, loudy da, I'm a leprechaun kind of stuff, and I feel like that is being seen now, and probably rightfully so, as derogatory towards the Irish accent as well. So trying to get like a neutral ground for the Irish accent can be hard because of the situations around Ireland and the one for independence and shit that all went down in the 90s. That you have to just take every accent with a pinch of salt and do it within a group of people that know you're not doing it in a derogatory way as well, if you are going to go down that route of using those accents.
I totally get it because my kids, and it's probably my fault because I'm constantly speaking in a different accent. You guys will hear my youngest, right, come up and sometimes she just comes and talks in a British accent, mummy. And she was doing it to me yesterday. She was a knight for this queen that she had. It was like this big pink stuffed puppy that she had dressed in one of her dresses, and it was the queen, and she was the knight, and she had to go and do certain things for the queen. And I was like, fine. But the moment my kids will do something with like a Chinese accent, my hackles go up, and I'm like, are we doing this? I just have to make sure that we're not mocking. And actually, when she is on call with your boy Joe, sometimes she'll fall into it, and I'm like, sometimes, like, as a person who my ear is very drawn to something. And when I went to Ireland for a week, I came home with a little bit of a brogue because it just infiltrates my brain, and without even thinking about it, I will fall into it, which is, I think, why I like playing with my voice so much, is because it just, like, I was good at music very, very early on because I could do a lot of things by ear. And sometimes it's just me repeating things. And there is a condition called echolalia where you just hear it and your brain repeats it and your mouth then repeats it. And it's not doing anything with any sort of malice. It's just something that physiologically is happening to you. And so I think it, like Jason said, it's that deeply ingrained kind of cultural connection that you have between the UK and India that's informing that. Whereas if you're doing it right, if you had some sort of actor that was putting on an accent for a role, is that crossing a line? It's not, because they're portraying a character. So when you're doing
like
it in
Tropic
character,
Thunder. That's like that is like
the most controversial one.
That's
like
let's just put that one aside. That one's supposed to be making fun of what that is, right? Like, that is. But yeah, it's an interesting topic, and we've kind of talked about it in terms of when men role play women, right? Falling into stereotypes. It's a similar kind of thing, falling into stereotypes. And sometimes stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, because a lot of people exhibit those traits. But as long as you're not doing it in a harmful way and you're doing it to give other people context, right? I don't have to be a smelly shopkeeper on the corner of the street. That is a harmful stereotype, you know.
Yeah.
But if I'm making curry, that's not a harmful stereotype. That is just how it is. So I think it's good to be sensitive about it, but I think that there is kind of that gray area where it's helpful too.
I think we've said before, like, one of the keys is communication between players and GM. Also, outside of that, like, I would hope that if someone heard my Brett accent, and was offended by it in any way, I would really hope that they would just tell me and be like, here's why I find it offensive, without any aggression, without any, like...
Oh, I'd call you a dick. Maybe aggressively.
Yeah, that's fine. But, like, ideally, we've had this same discussion about other topics as well, like you say, but, like, the key for me is people just being open and honest without attacking. Like, sure, tell me that you find it offensive. You don't have to attack me about it. Just say, I don't like that, and here's why. Maybe then I'll reconsider and change the way I speak. And then if I don't change the way I speak, then sure, attack me, because I'm ignoring your kind of good intentions. But yeah, it just got me thinking, because like I say, it was that knee jerk. The kids listen to me doing accents most nights, and then the moment they did one, just because of the geographical location or origin of that accent, it really got me nervous and hesitant, which was just interesting to me.
Being receptive is important, though, because you all three know very intimately that there was an issue that somebody said something about Americans that I took offense to, and I said it, and then they kind of doubled down on it, and I think it was more than likely a miscommunication, or I caught them off guard by being offended by it, right? But being able to have the conversation, and if somebody ever approaches you about it, being open instead of defensive about it, right? Somebody is upset with what you said for a reason, and you have to open yourself up enough to receive what they're saying to you, and then you can, make whatever decision you want on it. But if all you're doing is staying closed and defensive because you didn't mean to, it doesn't matter whether or not you meant to, you did. So you have to be open enough to receive the feedback that's coming your way, and then you can process it.
Yeah, the intention doesn't justify the reaction. So
No.
So you got to keep that in mind when you do any kind of accent or any kind of jokes like that are at the sort of fault of, or pointing out something of somebody's nationality or accent or place of origin or beliefs and stuff like that. You have to receive, if you're going to say something like that, you have to be open to receive criticism back about it as well, and see if you can adjust the way you approach those kind of things in the future, or reevaluate whether it was necessary to say it at all.
Yeah.
But we're all humans, and we all got to learn this over time, and not everyone is taught this at a young age. So,
and I think talking about it is a really good first step, right? So not just internalizing all of that and staying quiet about it, but having the conversation with other people around you that you trust and are kind of sound-minded and logical about things. You can bounce it off. You don't need an echo chamber, but you do need to bounce it off and kind of get it out, and then maybe receive feedback so you can make sure that you're really kind of understanding as much of it as you can, and then you're not alone in your thoughts. There are so many issues in life that we internalize because we think that nobody else is going to want to hear it, or they don't want to talk about it. It's supposed to be private. It's supposed to be secret, and we don't learn if we keep things to ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never healthy to be in an echo chamber anyway.
Nah.
It's good to have difference of opinion with people, because it only strives for you to pick the best bits of who you are and keep those, and throw away the bad bits. And echo chambers don't provide that level of evolution in personality at all. Which brings us to our day's sponsor. No,
Sponsor.
But I do have a new monster for you guys to guess at. But let's see.
Wait, we have to talk about the old monster.
That's what I'll just get in there, Kristen. I'll get in there.
Oh, you're talking about the new one.
He's giving us a little teasing. He's teasing us.
We gotta resolve the old monster first.
He's not going in
So
there.
the old description, and I'll go top left and then round. This creature with sufficient practice, dragons can learn how to draw magic from elemental planes to shift their breath weapons into bipedal forms, creating a large elemental. Chromatic dragons often use these creatures as guardians for their hordes, or send them out to gather treasure for the territory around their layers. Depending on the dragon, this elemental form will be different. So, Kristen, you're in the top left of my screen. What is your guess on this creature?
So I'm not gonna lie, I definitely just spaced out with the words that you just said, because I was trying to remember the answer that I gave you before, which I did text to you 3 million years ago. But I'm pretty sure the answer that I had texted you was animated breath. But I'm gonna go back and look again. But I'm gonna say that, and everybody take your time while I try and find it.
Joe, you're bottom left.
So as ever, I tried to do it, especially given that there was a moment when I berated Lee for having dared to look through the source material. So I tried and do it without looking through the source material, which isn't very useful because I'm not super knowledgeable. So the best I could come up with was some kind of what are they called? Elemental kobold. Which I don't think is a thing, but that's what came to mind. Like, essentially, dragon breathes whatever they do onto a kobold, and that becomes their guardian.
Okay, and Lee?
Yeah, I went same as Kristen, animated breath.
I did confirm that is what I texted you 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
My guess for the monster was animated breath.
Yeah, and Lee and Kristen would be correct. You're not far off. Like, your reasoning was there, Joe. If a dragon were to breathe on a kobold and it would then be animated, it would be the same thing. Do you know what I mean? It would literally be the same thing. I'd give you 0.5 for a point, which would be your second 0.5 of a point in this series. But it still means that Lee is 5 for 5 so far, at top of the board.
Well, I mean,
Kristen for 3. Joe, you got 2, and that's including your half a point. Oh.
It's easy when you cheat by looking at the books.
that was still three answers though. It was just
mine was 5 answers. So.
2 halves. You know what? Nobody was talking to you right in that moment. I was speaking directly to Joe, trying to make him feel better. Joe, you did a great job, and I'm proud of you.
Right. So this podcast monster might make you a little hungry. Well, here's the description. These carnivorous, temperamental, tasty bottom feeders are native to the abyss. They beat their lengthy wings and to scare predators and to help them run faster. And they taste like fatty poultry.
I know what it is. Got it already.
Got it already?
I think I
got it already,
too.
mate.
I'll put the description in our podcast chat. And you guys can let me know what that is next podcast.
I'm going to have to go read it again, but I feel like...
Once I think I know what it is, but
Yeah.
if I do, it's
You're going to overthink it.
D&D that I know it. But that's fine. I'm okay with that.
It's not from D&D that you know it.
The name is used elsewhere, I think.
Okay.
Is it though?
But it fits the description, so we'll see.
Kristen, do you have a spell for us to flavor this podcast?
I did, and I wrote it down, and I left it in the other room. So give me a second, and...
1 second later.
Shh.
It's okay. Lee's got a whole bit that he wanted to do, so yeah, Lee can do that while you run out. And
I got a whole bit. What was I going to do?
I don't know,
I was
mate.
gonna
I
do
was
something
just trying to put you on the spot. I hope you.
I was actually going to say, how do you guys feel about the new D&D rule set?
looked at it.
No, wait.
Oh, I gotta.
No,
Gotta hear
wait.
Back in.
Okay. So I
She was
remembered what
going.
I remembered what it was because it came in like clutch yesterday. When Joe's character Brett was like, "Hey, have a beer, have a beer, have a beer, have a beer," and those beers were him casting Aid. And Aid is a fantastic spell because it doesn't give you temporary hit points, right? Which I think is misunderstood a lot of times. So the description is, your spell bolsters your allies with toughness and resolve. Choose up to 3 characters. Oh my God, I'm going to start all the way over. Hi, my name's Kristen. The spell I've chosen for you to flavor is Aid, and the description is as follows. Your spell bolsters your allies with toughness and resolve. Choose up to 3 creatures within range. Each target's hit point maximum and current hit points increase by 5 for the duration being 8 hours, which is basically like your adventuring day, right? You can upcast that and you still have 3 creatures that you target, but the target's hit point increase for an additional 5 on top of that for every level above second. So, Brett was the Australian character you were kind of talking about, and he was throwing beers at people who were down, but it literally saved 2 people who were downed, and it didn't give them temporary hit points, which is good because as those are depleted, right, because maybe the temporary time has worn off, you get them for 8 hours, which is enough to kind of bring you up and then let you travel back somewhere else to get more healing. This spell is available to Cleric, Paladin, Artificer. This is something about community domain. I don't even know what that is. But anyway, before I go on that rabbit hole, how would you flavor Aid? I mean, and it could be completely dependent on a profession or a specific character you have in mind. But what would it look like to you? I think it's also important to note that you don't have to touch people, right? It's a 30-foot range, so you don't have to like put a Band-Aid on somebody and do something.
Yeah. I'd like to see a bard doing it and have it them literally just draw over where they've been hurt as like a little healing patch, and then it just sticks onto them, similar to like a Band-Aid or a plaster, but they just
Nice.
cover over it, and yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool to see that done. It is absolute fucking awesome spell, very overlooked, because if you've, like you said, if you've got a lot of people who are down, that can bring 3 people back up from death saving throws for 1 spell slot, which changes the action economy massively. Even if they only get 1 round, or if it's just to clear their saves and then they get hit again, it can really turn the tide of battle. That
As a support main in most of my games, it's a go-to spell for all of those kind of characters, for sure.
Yeah, it's to your point, Lee, it's exactly what there was a couple of sessions ago where Kristen went down, and I was apologising and being like, I don't want to use aid right now because someone else is probably about to go down too, and I want to wait until you're both down before I waste it. So, which felt very harsh in the moment, but then turned out to be pretty much the right decision. And pretty much the same thing happened again last night. I think so. You already described how Brett chucks beers around. He's always got some beers on him because he doesn't want to be sober. But the alternative, because he's also a ranger and does lots of trick shots, the alternative idea I had in mind when I was thinking, maybe not everything should be about alcohol with him, was essentially a plunger arrow. So, like a bathroom plunger.
Classic Green Arrow comic book style.
I don't like that noise.
And then, just take one of those on the people, cover up their wounds until they can deal with it properly. Because I loved the idea of people wandering around with like arrows essentially sticking out of them, but with a positive purpose.
I do like that.
I might have to blend the two at some point if ever I need to give you aid at 30 feet. And, I can't quite throw it that far. Better use an arrow.
Yeah, I do like that. You could change it to a needle as well, like a needle and thread that you fire off.
It's like morphine, isn't it?
Knits the fucking
trick shot
together. Yeah, proper trick shot.
I like the idea of like an Odo type character, Joe. Maybe more leaning towards a barbarian-esque thing who just spits, rubs his hand in dirt, and then rubs it on the wound. And against all kind of logic, it makes them feel better. I think is how I'd flavour it. It's like, just put some spit on it, and then just rub it into the wound.
Don't say it. I kind of like the idea of like smelling salts. Cracking open some sort of smelling salts, but instead of it being offensive like smelling salts are, you could use it as like a smoke bomb because it's affecting 3 creatures, right? And if I'm doing it as one action, I'm not running around and going, you smell it, you smell it, you smell it. So I could take like this thing and crack it open and then throw it in the middle of where all of them are, and it kind of spins around and leaks out whatever. Maybe even like in Harry Potter, this love potion that they make smells unique to them, right? So aid, maybe you really like the smell of old books, so you are invigorated because you smell a really, really ancient library, and you like the smell of fresh cut grass and dew in the morning, and so that's what it smells like to you.
Why does it smell like my girlfriend's ass?
Well, if that's what it is for you, leave that flavor part up to you. But I kind of like the idea of it being this scent because your olfactory sense is really, really powerful. And I kind of like the idea of it invigorating you that way, especially since it's not a touch spell, right? You have to figure out how you're affecting 3 creatures at once uniquely.
I think with its 8-hour long duration, there should be a coffee shop that gives you espresso shots
of aid.
Yeah, and then like the barista has like cast aid, but instead of like casting it as a spell, you get 3 espresso shots, and that increases your max HP permanently for the next 8 hours. I feel like that would be a nice little NPC throwaway there that I'll just tag on to the end.
They dip their finger in it.
Did you flavour that exactly, Kristen, ready for your new character coming up? Is that where that was going? Because that was very like artificer alchemy sort of esque.
No, I still haven't even looked at it. I actually thought that maybe I would make Chet look at it to see what his idea was, but no, I haven't even
Scared,
looked at
nervous,
that. A little
Yeah.
bit. So I'm going to be joining in on a campaign that Lee is starting, which is kind of another chapter in his storyline. And I told him that he could make my character top to bottom. So he's made my character. I haven't seen it yet. He's made my token. It's a changeling, so I have a bunch of different tokens. I have not seen any of them yet. I haven't seen the stat sheet. I know that she is an artificer, would you say alchemist?
Alchemist.
Changeling, and I'm pretty sure you said her name is Elvira. And I have her motto, her slogan, which I'm going to keep quiet for right now, but that's all I know about her. And so I will get all of the information on the day as Lee introduces my character to everybody else.
It's going to be funny. It's going to be enjoyable. I'm excited to see it happen. Because I know you do really well on the spot as well, so...
I'm
If
looking
it was
forward
me-
to play my character as well for that campaign,
You...
which is going to be
like,
pretty
as soon as-
quiet character, which is not really what I go for. I kind of go for quite chatty characters,
Yeah.
or
But
pretty
it was like
confident
almost
characters, should I say.
immediately, you sent me
It's
character...
like the day after,
character
wasn't
sheet, token, and everything, backstory, and I was like, that was like the day after. I was like, oh yeah, it'll be, and it's been like a couple of months and ready. But yeah, you were immediately ready for that campaign. So
it?
that
Yeah,
was-
well,
that was nice.
left on such a point when you give us the option to continue the previous ones or take a couple level drops and go for something else. I thought the way the story's going, this character that I had in my brain would really suit the storyline that is going on. And I wanted to take full advantage of that because it's not often that you get to do that and already know 2 campaigns worth of history of it. And use that as your influence for the next chapter of this story. So I wanted to take full advantage of having this opportunity to do something like that, which I think would be real cool.
Oh, it definitely will. It's exciting. You look extremely nervous.
It's fine because ultimately I said there are. I wouldn't. Nobody take offense to this, but there are not very many people that I'd be like, "Yep, I trust you. Do whatever." I mean, I've told you before there are very few people that I would ever play Warlock for because I don't.
Yeah.
Trust everybody with my soul. So, yeah, no, it's just.
What you mean? Would you
it's-
ever play Warlock with me, Kristen?
Not after last night, no. Definitely not.
I actually, though, we talked about it because Thivara was going to take a level in either Warlock or Sorcerer, and we talked it out, and we together decided that Sorcerer probably fit better. So I was on the fence with allowing it, but I mean, you are not proving yourself very trustworthy at the moment, sir.
I mean, it's all for the story. It's all for the plot.
I know it's all for the story. Maybe next time.
It is.
Maybe
Yeah,
next time.
we'll have to talk about that next time once we've actually discovered
Resolve
fate of
the
it.
issue.
the cause,
Yeah.
the fate, and the 'cause that's a whole thing.
There's a lot of trauma to
Um,
deal with that bit there. Like, still
There is.
processing it.
Talking of trauma, and that's about all we've got time for today. Thank you all for listening. Feel free to drop us some comments if you want to guess Jason's monster.
And if
or
you
if
have
you
a
want to-
bargain bin spell,
Oh yeah,
we
try
would
bargain bin
love to hear. Even if you just have the name, we can come up with the rest. But we would love
Mhm.
inspiration for bargain bin spells. Discount.
Yeah, maybe if anyone comes up with a really good bargain bin spell, we can flavor that spell instead of flavoring
Yeah.
a spell from the D&D sources.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're glad to be back. It was fun to speak to you guys again. Hope you've all enjoyed listening. And if you can't be cool, be wicked.
Always be wicked.
Even if you can't be cool.
Wherever you found us today, don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content. And if you want to find out more about what we do, how to support us, pick up some merch and find links to our friends like JB Media, visit us at wickedcoolkids.co.uk.
And cat.
What? Pink cat?
Cat. And cat.
3, 2,
And
Coffee.
cat.
1. 3, 2, 1.
3,
Oh,
2,
shit.
1. Good spike.
3, 2, 1.
Good girth on mine, I think.
Not even
Big
recording
girth.
yet. 3, 2, 1.
Ouch, Joseph.
That was a lot of girth on mine.
There's so much sting on that. Oh.
If there's
Should've
any
spat on
more
it
girth
first.
in there.